Here are the top stories for today, December 20, 2021. Rising from the ruins, government agencies spare no effort in bringing relief to areas reeling from the devastation in the aftermath of Typhoon Odette. More aid from the West. The Philippines receives additional COVID-19 vaccine doses from Germany and France as EU member states pledge to continue helping Manila beef up its COVID-19 response. The Health Department confirms a third case of the Omicron variant in the country, barely a week after the first two cases of the more transmissible COVID-19 variant were reported. And reviving local tourism in full blast. 5 tourism circuits in Calabarzon which offer a variety of destinations and activities for those longing to fulfill that wanderlust. Good day, I'm Marita Muaje. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Relief efforts are still ongoing in the typhoon-hit areas in Visayas and Mindanao. President Rodrigo Duterte has ordered all government agencies to utilize their quick response funds to expedite the delivery of relief and rehabilitation efforts in areas hit by Typhoon Odette. President Duterte designated DSWD Secretary Rolando Bautista to act as the crisis manager to ensure government response is coordinated in Surigao del Norte and Dinagat Islands. Bautista will be assisted by NDRRMC Executive Director and Civil Defense Administrator Undersecretary Ricardo Halad. Moreover, President Duterte has pledged some 2 billion pesos worth of assistance to local governments of provinces hit by the typhoon. On Saturday, he visited Siargao Island and Surigao del Norte, Dinagat Islands, and Maasin City in southern Leyte to personally assess the damage caused by Typhoon Odette. He also visited Cebu City and Argao in the province of Cebu. Meantime, there are conflicting reports on the number of casualties. Some reports said the death toll is more than 200. In Bohol alone, Governor Arthur Yap reported 94 casualties in the province as of 12 noon today, and that over 28,800 families have been evacuated in the area. In Dinagat Islands, at least 14 people were reported dead. Jeff Crisostomo, Dinagat Islands Provincial Information Officer, said the province is leveled to the ground and that many people are left homeless. The government utilizes its aircraft and vessels to transport more relief goods in the Visayas region. The Philippine Air Force Lockheed C-130 Hercules cargo planes have flown relief goods from Villamor Air Base, Pasay City to Cebu. Air Force spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Maynard Mariano said 2 sorties were conducted where a total of 33,797 pounds of relief goods, including tents, gallons of water, sacks of rice, toiletries, used clothes, canned goods, bottled water, and generator sets were transported. Meanwhile, the Philippine Navy, through the Philippine Fleet, is now assembling a 19-ship humanitarian aid-focused flotilla that will be deployed in areas severely devastated by Typhoon Odette. The relief flotilla consists of 7 sea-lift vessels for the transport of relief goods and locally stranded individuals, 2 patrol ships for command and control, and 8 other watercraft as general support vessels. Meanwhile, the presidential yacht BRP Ang Pangulo has been repurposed as a hospital ship. Aside from the ships, the Philippine Navy also placed 4 naval aircrafts on alert status to provide aerial survey, immediate rescue, and limited transport capabilities of the flotilla. Over 100 disaster responders in Davao City are sent in Bohol Province to conduct relief and rescue operations. Mayor Sara Duterte led the send-off ceremony for the delegation composed of rescue and medical teams. The team brought rice, water, food packs, and other supplies to the typhoon-affected residents not only of Bohol but also of Cebu Province. Mayor Duterte said about 55 tons of supplies were sent to Bohol and Cebu through airplanes and trucks. Power supply in Cebu may be restored within the week. Cebu is under a state of calamity following the onslaught of Typhoon Odette. The Visayan Electric Corporation President and Chief Operating Officer Raul Lucero said they are working closely with the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, or NGCP, which is awaiting supply from Leyte Island to initially power up some areas in Cebu through power distributors. Meanwhile, Cebu Governor Gwendolyn Garcia approved the purchase of 40,000 bags of NFA rice for relief efforts, as well as food packs and water for distribution. The Philippine Army and the Philippine National Police likewise stepped in to offer manpower and trucks to help distribute assistance. The Mactan Cebu International Airport Authority has already resumed its domestic operations yesterday. Police units in the typhoon hit areas were given added duties to monitor prices of goods to ensure proper implementation of Republic Act 7581, or the Price Act. This after the Department of Trade and Industry earlier imposed an automatic price freeze in areas placed under a state of calamity such as Camarines Norte, Cebu, Bohol, and Negros Occidental. PNP Chief General Leonardo Carlos alerted police units against unscrupulous traders and businessmen who may take advantage of Typhoon Odette's aftermath. Section 6 and 7 of the law expressly provide that a price ceiling may be imposed on any basic necessity or prime commodity considering the impedency, existence, or effects of a calamity. Violators may face imprisonment for a period of not less than 1 year but not more than 10 years, or a fine of not less than 5,000 pesos but not more than 1 million pesos. The local government of Sipalay City, which is the top tourist destination in Negros Occidental, urgently appeals for assistance as their area was also one of the severely hit by Typhoon Odette. Sipalay was left with at least 16 persons dead as of Monday. The city and its neighboring localities still have no power supply, and mobile data connection in the area is limited. Meanwhile, tourists staying in Sipalay during the onslaught of Odette are safe. The Sipalay City Tourism Office advised tourists with existing bookings to contact their resort or hotel before finalizing their upcoming trip. It also appealed for assistance. Donations from within Sipalay can be coursed through the City Social Welfare and Development Office at the Emergency Operations Center in Barangay, while in-kind items such as food and clothes can be dropped at the Negrosanon Young Leaders Institute Incorporated on the second floor of Negros First Cyber Center in Bacolod City. Still ahead, no reason to worry about your personal data as the PSA says these are safely stored in their registry. And the DTI assures consumers can expect stable prices of Noche Buena items ahead of Christmas. Details ahead, keep it here on the PNA Newsroom.
The COVID-19 pandemic has greatly changed our lives for the worse. Lives and jobs were lost and economies reached a meltdown. Thanks to the arrival of safe and effective vaccines, we are one step closer to normalcy. It's time to do our part, get vaccinated for our safety and for our recovery.
You are there in that community, go there and have yourself vaccinated by any of the vaccines available. They are all potent, they are all effective.
I would like to appeal to all our kababayans, please get vaccinated against COVID-19 and be the government partner in preventing further spread of the disease. I encourage you to get vaccinated as soon as possible time. These vaccines are safe and they are the key to reopening our society. The need for international solidarity and cooperation cannot be made clearer than this pandemic, because everyone is safe. No one is safe globally until everybody is safe.
Vaccines work.
Commander Dito Ocampo po ng Philippine Coast Guard Auxiliary para sa kumpanyang Disiplina Muna na pinangungunahan ng DILG. Bakit natin kailangan magpabakuna laban sa COVID-19? Dahil mahal mo ang iyong sarili, pamilya at bayan. Ang bakuna ang tiyak na paraan para tuluyang mapigilan ang pagkalat ng virus. May mga patunay na mababa ang porsyento ng pagkalat ng COVID-19 sa mga nabakunahan na. At matapos mabakunahan, malaki na ang tsansa na makabalik ka sa normal mong pamumuhay. Kaya tulad ko magparehistro na at magpabakuna na kontra COVID-19. Muli po, ako si Commander Dito Ocampo, Disiplina Muna Ambassador. Nagpapaalala, huwag matakot magpabakuna dahil bida ang may disiplina. Magparehistro tayo at magpabakuna para sa ligtas na pamilya, ligtas na bayan.
The Department of Health has recorded its third case of the COVID-19 Omicron variant in the Philippines. DOH Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergeire said the third case is a 36-year-old returning overseas Filipino from Qatar who arrived at the Mactan Cebu International Airport on November 28. The case tested positive on December 5 but later on tested negative in a retest on December 19. The DOH is looking for possible close contacts among the passengers and checking their test results to see if there are other confirmed cases. 2 batches of Moderna COVID-19 vaccines donated by the German government through the Gov't facility arrived in the country yesterday. The first batch consists of 1,062,100 doses which arrived Sunday afternoon. The second batch consists of 535,300 doses and was delivered at about 10:15 p.m., also via Singapore Airlines. These complete the 1,597,400 doses of donated Moderna vaccines. Meanwhile, the private sector procured 663,400 doses of AstraZeneca jabs also arrived last night. German Embassy Economic Counselor George Mawes said the vaccine's arrival shows how important vaccination is. He said he thinks the Philippines is on a very good way on its vaccination program, and Germany is very happy to support the Philippines for the fantastic vaccination program. On Saturday, an additional 811,890 doses of Pfizer vaccines from France arrived. This is part of the almost 3.5 million doses that the French government has given to the Philippines through the COVAX facility. National Task Force Against COVID-19 Special Advisor Dr. Teodoro Herbosa welcomed the arrival of the vaccine, saying the donation would boost the country's target to achieve 54 million fully vaccinated Filipinos by the end of the year. France Ambassador to the Philippines, Michelle Boucoz, assures that the French government will continue to support the vaccination program of the Philippines. The Philippine Statistics Authority assures that all registered information in the Philippine Identification System are secured with the PhilSys registry. In a social media post, the PSA said all details and records updates by PhilSys registered individuals are safeguarded under Republic Act 11055 or the PhilSys Act. In case the Philippine Identification Card or National ID is lost or damaged, it cannot be replicated and used by others. The PSA acts as the administrator and manager of the PhilSys registry, which is separate and distinct from all other databases. An official of the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict slammed the acquittal of 15 CPP, NPA, NDF leaders and members for their role in the Inupacan massacre in Leyte in 1985. Among the communist members acquitted by the Manila Regional Trial Court Branch 32 were former Bayan Muna Representative Saturo Campo, National Democratic Front consultants Vicente Ladlad, Rafael Bailosis, and Adelberto Silva. National Security Advisor and NTF-ELCAC Vice Chair Hermogenes Esperon Jr. said the murder cases were filed to give justice to the gruesome deaths of 67 persons whose skeletal remains were unearthed in the Leyte town on August 28, 2006. The victims were identified as NPA rebels who were summarily executed for reportedly working with the government. Esperon maintained that the acquittal does not mean that the crimes were not committed. He added that numerous cases and warrants are still pending for the communists and their cuddlers who sow terrorism and acts of injustice. A dozen members of the lawless Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters surrendered to the military in Ampatuan, Maguindanao on Saturday. The surrenderers handed over 10 assorted firearms, including a 50 caliber machine gun, to the 1st Mechanized Infantry Brigade with the help of local officials. 5 of the BIFF men admitted they were trained bomb makers. The 12 pledged their allegiance to the Philippine flag with local officials at witnesses in ceremonies in Barangay Kamasi. Major General Juvimax Uy, the Army's 6th Infantry Division Commander and Concurrent Chief of Joint Task Force Central, called on other extremists there to consider the reconciliation program of the government. More than 300 BIFF members have yielded to military and police authorities under the Army-led Joint Task Force Central during the past 15 months. The Department of Trade and Industry assures that supermarkets are still following the suggested retail price ahead of the Christmas holidays. Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez said they continue to monitor prices and even came up with advertisements regarding the prices of specific goods. On the other hand, they have not yet received any complaint on overpricing. For their part, supermarkets are complying with the SRP by removing from their shelves items that are not in line with the SRP approved by the DTI. Lopez said commodity prices were unchanged since the pandemic started and were only hiked by about 3% starting August this year. Up next, no compromise. The Health Department strongly opposes the bill seeking to further expand access to vaporized nicotine and non-nicotine products. And ready to roam? You might want to try nearer destinations in tourism circuits set up in Calabarzon. More stories when the PNA Newsroom returns.
Paolo Medjones po para sa kampanyang Disiplina Muna na pinangungunahan ng DILG. Bakit ba kailangan magparehistro sa pagpapabakuna laban sa COVID-19? Mahalagang magparehistro dahil ito ang unang step sa pagpapabakuna laban sa COVID-19. May 3 pamamaraan upang makapagrehistro ang isang Pilipino na nais mabakunahan. Una, ang online registration sa inyong local government unit o LGU. Pangalawa, ang pagpunta sa mga vaccination centers at pagkuha ng registration form. At pakikipag-ugnayan sa mga pinuno ng barangay o sa mga barangay health center. Tandaan, online, sa mga vaccination site o sa mga barangay health centers ang pagpaparehistro sa pagpapabakuna kontra COVID-19. Muli ako po si Paolo Medjones, Disiplina Muna Ambassador na nagpapaalala, huwag matakot magpabakuna. Bida ang may disiplina. Magparehistro at magpabakuna para ligtas ang pamilya, ligtas ang bayan. Disiplinadong Pilipino ay rehistrado para maging bakunado.
The Department of Labor and Employment on Sunday assailed anew the brains behind a fake Facebook account using the name of Secretary Silvestre Bello III to dupe victims. Dole vowed that the long arm of the law will soon catch up with the owners of the fake account. The National Bureau of Investigation is zeroing in on a number of suspects and could soon expose the identity of the scammers. The scammers solicited assistance through the fake account purportedly for the labor chief's community pantry and to boost his senatorial bid. They announced that Bello was distributing tons of rice as assistance, but the recipients must shoulder the shipping fees. Bello is not seeking a Senate seat or any other public office. The Secretary has advised the public to ignore the phony account. A suspected drug pusher who was allegedly armed with a handgun and grenade was killed in a firefight with anti-narcotics operatives in Barangay Sapang Kawayan, Science City of Muñoz, Nueva Ecija. The suspect was identified as Denmark Flora, a resident of Barangay Poblacion West. Flora was the subject of a buy-bust operation by the Police Anti-Drug Enforcement Unit in coordination with the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency. In the middle of the trade, the suspect drew his firearm and fired at operatives who shot back and killed him instantly. Investigators recovered a revolver, a hand grenade, 26,800 pesos worth of shabu, 600 pesos worth of marijuana leaves, marked money, and a mobile phone. The Department of Health strongly opposes the recently approved bill regulating the trade and use of vaporized nicotine and non-nicotine products or vapes. The DOH called Senate Bill 2239 or the Vaporized Nicotine and Non-Nicotine Regulation Act a blatant disregard of public health. In a news release, it said the bill contains several provisions that contradict public health goals and undermines the country's progress in tobacco control. The DOH maintains that vape products are harmful and should be regulated as health products due to their toxic substances and effects. The DOH said that the approval of Senate Bill 2239 also puts the Filipino youth at risk. Studies have shown vape use increases the risk of using other known addictive substances such as cigarette, alcohol, and even marijuana. It added that various laws that have protected Filipinos from the harms of vapes stand to be watered down due to Senate Bill 2239. The DOH enjoins Filipinos, public health advocates, and champions of health to stay united in protecting people from vapes. Calabarzon is gearing up to welcome more visitors with the introduction of 5 initial tourist circuits in the region. The Department of Tourism on Saturday launched the Green Corridor initiative that would link top and visitor-ready destinations in Calabarzon. In Gov't, the Metro Tagaytay Tourism Circuit will focus on nature, health and wellness, and farm tourism. Laguna's Sarilina Tourism Circuit highlights the province's rich ecotourism. The Bayside Tourism Circuit of Batangas has a spotlight on the province's quaint seaside towns and impeccable dive spots. Rizal's circuit seeks to offer tourists faith, food, art, adventure, and nature. The Reina Tourism Circuit of Quezon promises attractions for nature trippers, adrenaline junkies, or history buffs. Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat is optimistic that GCI would drive leisure travel and kickstart the region's recovery. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. Rising from the ruins, government agencies spare no effort in bringing relief to areas reeling from the devastation in the aftermath of Typhoon Odette. More aid from the West. The Philippines receives additional COVID-19 vaccine doses from Germany and France as EU member states pledge to continue helping Manila beef up its COVID-19 response. The Health Department confirms a third case of the Omicron variant in the country, barely a week after the first two cases of the more transmissible COVID-19 variant were reported. And reviving local tourism in full blast. 5 tourism circuits in Calabarzon, which offer a variety of destinations and activities for those longing to fulfill that wanderlust. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear face masks and face shields, wash your hands often, practice safe physical distancing, go out only for essential reasons, and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and the IBC 13. Christmas is just around the corner as it is now only 5 days before Christmas. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. We tell stories that inspire change. I am Marita Muaje. Have a good day.